Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Checkbox webinar on how to automate your NDA in under 20 minutes. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time. By way of introduction, my name is Evan Wong and I am the co-founder and CEO at Checkbox. For those of you who have never heard of Checkbox before, I might start with a short introduction as to who we are and what we do. So Checkbox, we're a technology company and we've built a platform that is the leading automation and workflow platform using drag and drop. And what this means is that we empower business users without a technical background to be able to go and build their own automated and digitized tools. This is to solve problems like document creation, triage, approval processes, and even assessments as well. And we're trusted globally by the best. So we work with amazing brands like Deloitte, Allianz, Telstra, Coca-Cola, and many more that you see here. And we work across many different verticals, many different functions, and from organizations small to large. Now, today's webinar is going to be focused on the NDA as a use case. But Checkbox is applied to much more than just NDA and a lot more to just legal. But that's going to be our focus for today. And if you're not from the space, this should still be relevant to you, and we can chat afterwards about the other things that we are automating as well. Now, a few housekeeping rules before we get into the content. There's a Q&A button somewhere on this webinar. Feel free to submit your questions at any point through that button there. I'm not sure in the 30 minutes that we have today whether I'll be able to go through all of the questions, but I will get back to you via email after this webinar. So feel free to submit them through. The other thing is that there will be 2 polls being posted to you during this webinar. And so please just fill in the polls. What we'll do is we'll collate the results and send you the results via email. I think there'll be some pretty interesting data points for benchmarking that you'd be interested in. So on that note, maybe we can shoot off our very first poll. I'm going to kind of get a gauge of who is in the audience here and roughly where you are along your automation journey. So if you could spend a few seconds just answering these questions, that would be fab. All right, and it seems like there is a big proportion of people here interested in the NDA as a use case, as well as looking at what Checkbox can do, so that's great, thank you for the interest. And most of you haven't started at all on your automation journey, which is fascinating. I think this will be a huge eye-opener for you in this webinar to see how quickly and how easily you can really actually start the journey. All right, and well done to the one participant on this webinar who has said that they have high levels of automation. I'm super curious to chat with you afterwards. Brilliant. Thank you for entertaining me. Let's move on. So I want to now jump into really understanding why would we even start to think about automation? Why even bother, right? And I want to have a look at kind of the challenges with the manual NDA process really quickly. So a non-disclosure agreement, of course, is a document you countersign with a party to share confidential information or sensitive information. Now, this could be handled by, say, your legal team or the operations team, in which case there's really 2 key problems here. Your lawyers or your operations team get paid way too much to really be dealing with NDA basic low-risk requests, right? So they spend a lot of time kind of collating the templates, responding to inquiries, and actually producing and signing those documents. It's not a good use of their time. The second thing is that there is a long turnaround time for the business. So if you as a business user is asking for legal for an NDA, and you have to wait for them to actually get to your email or to your phone call, and then once they get to that in the legal queue to actually go and do the task and return it to you, that's not good for you either because you're slowing down the ability to do business and close deals. On the flip side, there are businesses who are perhaps already having the NDA self-serve by the business users. Right? It's handled by the business users. Maybe it's on the internet, you download a template, knock yourself out. There's 2 problems here as well. One is that business users aren't legally trained, they don't understand policy all the way through, and so you end up with a whole bunch of non-compliant NDAs or non-compliant processes. And the second thing is if it's completely self-serve, then there's a lack of visibility for legal as well, which fundamentally is a risk function in the business, and that's not too good. All right, so now that we kind of understand the background behind why it is useful to automate the NDA, let's go and do it. I promised that I would do it in under 20 minutes, and we don't have all the time in the world today, so let's jump straight into it. All right, so I'm in the Checkbox platform at the moment, Okay, there's quite a few apps here. I'm not going to go through these today. We're going to build one from scratch. So to really show you that I'm starting from the beginning, I'm going to create a new app. I'm going to call this 6th of the 5th, 20th, let's say NDA webinar. All right. And let's just call this version 1. I'm going to create the app in Checkbox. And I'm going to jump into the studio. Now the studio is that drag and drop interface, this beautiful interface here, this modern interface is how we actually build software without an IT background. Okay. So as a business user, I'm going to go and automate my NDA. Now, of course, no one starts from scratch. You're not drafting the NDA. We would have a template already. So I've got a template prepared. It looks kind of like this, right? So this is my template. It's kind of like a Checkbox NDA template, you know, and with any great template, of course, you'd be familiar with the areas that are highlighted where you have to, you know, substitute for specific party names, or you may need to, you know, take out certain clauses and input certain clauses. And so this is kind of my base template. I'm going to go and automate this. So really important to understand when we're automating, what do we want to actually automate? Well, I know that I want to automate, say, the counterparty's name. All right. Now we're going to pretend that we're automating Checkbox's NDA. All right. But we don't know who the counterparty is. We don't know what their unique entity number is, or their ABN if you're from Australia. Right. We don't know what the purpose of the NDA is. We don't know things like whether certain clauses like trade secrets must be included as well. And so we need to actually reverse engineer a lot of those kind of what we call variables into a questionnaire. All right, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go back into the Checkbox platform, and we're going to start with the start screen. So let's just give it something pretty basic. Let's just call this the NDA automation tool. All right. And I'll say something like, use this tool to create your own NDA in under 2 minutes. And we can say, from your friends at the legal team. All right. And then we can also go and say, you know, we can actually format this. So perhaps I want this to be a bit larger for people to be able to read it a bit easier. And I might say something like click start to begin. And I can go and format this however I like. Brilliant, that's a good start page. And then what I'll do is I will now go and introduce a form. I'm going to drag in a form, and in this form, I want to capture the information about the counterparty. So maybe I'll go and call this the counterparty information. And I'll go in and open up the form builder. You can see here, there's all these different elements that I can introduce, but I want to just capture those basic information that I need from the document. So here, one of the key things that I want to capture is actually the counterparty legal name. I want to know their legal name. I'm going to bold it as well, just so I can see it a bit better. All right. I'm going to give them a text field to input their legal name. I'm going to repeat the same process, but this time ask for the counterparty short name, because we may not want to always refer to them by their full name. It might be a very long company name. And one more thing is the entity number. So like so let's just call this the UEN, the unique entity number. Okay, and we'll call this the counterparty UEN, right? And give them a field to input this as well. Now, the really cool thing about Checkbox is that whilst these are the questions that are shown to the user, we also have a field that automatically creates what we call variables. Now, variables is the way in which you can communicate between questions, between documents. It's the way you actually tie logic into the whole entire thing, and really is the heart of automation. In Checkbox, we actually automate the creation of these variables. You can see that we pick up that it's a text field, and this is the second variable I've introduced in this system. But I can actually go and rename it as well, because I want this to actually map to my document. See, the Checkbox app and the document needs to talk to each other. So, you know, here I've actually, you know, this can be whatever it wants. It doesn't have to be counterparty full. I've just decided to call it that. But let's match that together. So in the legal name, let's go and make sure that our variable name is counterparty full. What that's going to tell the system to do is whatever the user puts into this field, it's going to map it directly into the document here. Makes sense, right? Very straightforward. So I'm going to do the same thing with this field here. I'm going to make sure that that's mapping correctly, and with the UEN as well. Whoop, I made a mistake. This is the UN. So let's make this the UEN. And you can see actually it's picked up that I've already used this variable. If I zoom in on my screen here, you can see it has validation to say, well, it needs to be unique, buddy. So let me just go and make sure that is correct. So I'll go and change this to short name instead. Short. And this one I wanted as the UEN one. Brilliant. Okay, so this is all mapping now correctly to everything here. Excellent. All right, so now I've captured those key terms. I want to also capture the purpose of the actual engagement. So what I can do here is introduce another form. Now I don't have to, I can build everything on the one form, but from a user experience point of view, I kind of want to section out the questionnaire. So here I'm going to have another form, and I'm going to look at the purpose of the NDA here. All right, I'm going to jump right in. And here I'm going to again ask for the purpose. Now I'm going to show you something really cool here. We can actually reuse the inputs from the previous questions in future questions as well. So what I'll do here is I'll say, what is the express purpose between checkbox and, now I want to specify the counterparty. So what I can do is use this double curly braces here, right? And what that tells the system to do is actually to look at all the variables. And if I go and type C now, you can see the system actually suggests all of the variables in the system that match this particular description. As I type more and more, of course, a lot of them start with counterparty at the moment, but if I go and type S, you can see it filters down, kind of like a Google search, right? It kind of filters as you type, right? And I can actually, you know, as I type, I can actually just go and autocomplete the rest of that variable. So what is the express purpose between checkbox, and it's going to fill in that party name is going to come in really nicely there. Okay, I can even format things. So again, I can make this, you know, different colors. I can make this bold, you know, but it's going to say what is express purpose between these parties. Now we can keep an open field. We can, but if you wanted some level of degree of control, and maybe we can see another element here in play, maybe we can give them a drop down. If we give them a drop down for the purpose, oops, sorry, I just clicked that for no reason. If we give them a drop down, we can perhaps give them fixed value. So here we can say things like maybe a purpose is potential business relationship. Another drop down option could be provision of services. And let's say another one is a significant transaction, maybe something like an M&A, merger and acquisition, something like that, right? And here I can just say other. Okay. Now, what's really cool is they can actually go and select the express purpose now of this NDA, which we'll insert into the document. But I've created an other field just in case we do need to provide some more granular detail, in which case I can actually create another kind of conditional question that pops up if this particular variable is selected, if this other is selected, right? So if I call this, let's call this purpose select, right? I can actually go and say that this question here is please describe the purpose. And I only want to see this question, right, this conditional flag. If I tick this conditional, show if purpose select equals to other, right? Does that make sense? So if purpose select, which is the drop down above, is selected as other, then show this question, otherwise hide it away. Right? And same thing with here. If I'm going to create the space in which they can type that in, I also want that same condition. All right, so purpose select is going to equal to other. And when that happens, these two fields will show. Otherwise, they will be hidden. I'm going to rename this variable as well as purpose so that it all maps to the document. Right? And that's pretty nice. That's it. Now, what I want to do as well is one last thing we need to automate in this NDA, because I could have made this NDA a lot more simple, but I did want to show you that we can handle complexity, at least to some extent. There's a section here around trade secrets, which only applies if there's trade secrets involved in the engagement. So let's go and add one last question, and we're pretty much there, guys. So let's add one more question. Let's say, let's go and add a question around, let's say, will there be any trade secrets disclosed during this engagement? All right, we can also color the word trade secrets just so it stands out a bit, and then we'll use a different kind of form element. Let's use a radio button this time. And let's just use yes and no, nice and simple. Okay, and we'll call this trade secret. Excellent. Awesome. All right, well, all the questions are done. Now, you might be sitting there and be wondering, what is a trade secret? Well, here's the thing. In Checkbox, you can also add tips which allow you to provide definitions of things, definitions of terms like trade secret. So let's go and say definition of trade secret. And what this will do is it will help the end user walk through the content. Now I'm just going to copy and paste. Hey, that's not what I want to copy and paste. I want to copy and paste the definition of trade secret, so I don't have to type the whole one out. This is just taken from Wikipedia. All right, there we go. Trade secrets are a type of intellectual property, yada, yada, yada. Okay. And I can do the same as well, by the way, for things like UEN. That may not be clear. So let's go and add a definition for UEN. And we can say unique entity number, such as your company registration number. If you are an Australian entity, you can look up your ABN here. And what we can do is actually go and link the user to the ABN lookup in the Australian Business Register. We can also build integration so it happens automatically for you, by the way. You don't have to link out. The system can actually validate it within the experience itself. Now, I'm mindful that I've been building a lot of things so far and you haven't seen how it looks like. So before we go and load the document, I'm going to hit preview and show you exactly what we've built so far. So here you can see how the end user will experience the app that you've built. In the few minutes, I think it's been, I've lost track of time already, but I think in about less than 10 minutes so far, we have now a start page. We can click start and you can see here counterparty information. There are the 3 fields that we're capturing. There's the definition of UEN, and you can see if I click onto here, it takes me to the Australian Business Register, which actually allows me to do the lookup if I need. And if I go and type in, let's just say the XYZ company Pty Ltd, and we'll call them the XYZ code. Let's make up the UEN. You'll see in the next question, beautiful, right? Express purpose. What is the express purpose between Checkbox and the XYZ company? So you can see here how the previous input has come in and actually made this question a bit more personalized. There's our definition of trade secret. There are all of our different options there. If I select potential business relationship, nothing happens. But if I go and select other, you can see the additional field of please describe the purpose has come out, right? Very cool. So far, it's looking pretty good, but we haven't loaded the document yet. And that's going to be the last step. So let's do that together and let's see the final result. All right, so we've got all of this in place now. Well, best practice is you want to bring in something called a transcript. The transcript is going to help the end user review all of the questions that they've answered and be able to actually make any amendments if there's any mistakes along the way. That's automatically done in Checkbox for you. All right. We're then going to introduce a doc generation block. That's how we're going to generate our document. And in here, I'm simply going to use a template. All I have to do is actually upload there it is, the template that I had. All right, it's uploaded, done. And I might just call this NDA. So when it downloads, it's nice and named nicely, sorry, is what I'm trying to say. It's named nicely. And after that, just because I'm super extra and we have a bit of time here, I'm going to also add an email. What we're going to do is after the document is generated, I'm going to email a copy of it to the legal team, because if this is self-serve, I still want perhaps the legal team to have visibility of the NDAs created. In fact, this could even hook into a document management system so it stores into something like a SharePoint folder or another document management provider. Now in this email, I'm going to send it, you can see you can send it to whoever you want. Here I'm going to send it to myself so I can show you guys. And in the subject, I might just say NDA, let's call it draft NDA created, let's say attached actually, let's say NDA 4. And actually what I want to do here is show you that we can actually go and say Counterparty short. And what's going to be really interesting here is it's going to go and dynamically create a subject heading that is tailored as well to the situation. All right, here I'm just going to say, hi there, please find attached the NDA generated for, and again, we can just call it Counterparty short. And we can just say, regards, the Checkbox legal team. Oops, team. We'll go and attach a document as well. We'll go and attach the NDA. We might attach the responses as well, just so they can review it. And that's it. I've built an automated email notification as well, just like that. Because it's going to fire an email as soon as it passes this block here. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is just allow the user to download the document. Okay, so it says here, please review and download your document. Let's call this NDA to make it a bit more specific. Please review and download your NDA below. We're going to select the NDA as the document that we're going to review. And the reason why you have to select it is in Checkbox, you can build unlimited documents. You can actually have multiple documents created from just the one kind of workflow, right? But here we're building one document in the interest of time. And then finally, let's just end the process. We end it with assessment complete. You can customize the message yet again. It's up to you. All right. I think, guys, we are pretty much done. So let's do one final run through and have a look at the tool that we've built in about, I don't even know, 12 minutes or so. All right, let's go and do it. So I'm going to hit preview. All right, let's go through it. So again, let's just not be creative and just call it the XYZ company, PTY Ltd. I'm going to call this the XYZ Co for short. The UEN is going to be yada, yada, yada. And the express purpose, let's go with other, just so you can see how this can dynamically be inserted. And here for the purpose, I'm going to go and say, let's say setting up a potential partnership arrangement. All right, that's the purpose, potential partnership arrangement. And let's say there will be trade secrets disclosed, just to show you what's going to happen with the trade secrets. All right, brilliant. I'm at the transcript. You can see I can review all of my questions, my responses, and the answers. And I can go and submit it. And when I go and submit it, remember, it's going to fire off that email to my inbox. But it's also going to allow me to download the actual NDA itself. Let's go and have a look at it. It's just opening this. The background one is the template. So here we go. This is generated out of Checkbox. Have a look. We've got the Checkbox party name there. And you can see it's filled in the XYZ company, P12 today, with the random UEN I typed in. There's the short name. You can see the purpose is concerning the engagement for setting up a potential partnership arrangement. You can also see that, and I remember I left it in yellow so we can see it very clearly, the trade secret clause has been included, or the definition has been included, right? And it doesn't have to be highlighted, and it's because the template had it highlighted. You can also see the footers have inserted the company, XYZ company, P2 Ltd down at the bottom. And if we keep going, this is the whole document generated, even with the signatory fields as well. You can see the XYZ company, and we have e-signature integration. So you can actually send this from Checkbox directly to something like DocuSign or Adobe Sign. But how incredible is that? We've done it, right? We've built the actual, the NDA in a very short amount of time with conditional clausing, without any sort of coding. And the idea is that if I go back for a second, this is pretty linear. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I didn't have time to show you all the fancy things we can do, but you can build kind of branches and approval workflows to say that maybe if it's a significant transaction like an M&A, that it does go to the legal team for approval before it comes back and generates the document. Oh, and one more thing, of course, I should show you the email that was fired off, of course. So let me just pull in my inbox without exposing all of my other emails. Okay, and I'll just pull it in here. And you can see here, 1 minute ago, I received from Checkbox draft NDA for the XYZ company attached. Hi there, please find the attached NDA generated for the XYZ company. I can click in and access the actual Checkbox kind of dashboard straight away. But I also have here attached the documents themselves, which I can review on the fly on my mobile as well. And if we build in approval processes, you can approve those processes on the mobile as well. Now, the last thing I'll show you before I wrap up is that all of this is actually tracked on dashboards. So every single interaction that comes through Checkbox, you can tailor and customize to get an overall business insight as to what the business is doing or what your clients may be doing via Checkbox. And here I've built a very basic dashboard for NDAs where you can see I can track how many were declined, how many were signed, and how many were in progress. Yes, we actually do track the signature process of these documents if you're using e-signature. It's all live. And you can see we can break down the NDAs by division. Sales and marketing do the most. Sure, that kind of makes sense. Procurement, product, you can see the different kind of months as well in which they occur. And you can get all sorts of list views as well with a complete breakdown of the data that you care about. You can access previously generated documents as well as search for things that perhaps, let's say, only Joe Green worked on. So I'm searching for Joe Green. The table filters it through and clearly he's from product. Excellent. All right, well, in the few minutes that we have left, I would like to actually shoot you one last poll. And as I mentioned, the Q&A I will address after this webinar. But let me just shoot you one last poll. And this poll is really going to kind of get a sense of really what are the blockers for automation at the moment? What is the potential and what are the blockers? That's great. I can see a lot of people interested in approval workflows. That is a very common use case of Checkbox. And other standard documents, of course. NDA is only a use case. You can think tech trial agreements, MOUs, letters of engagement. And it seems like one of the biggest blockers for automation at the moment tends to be lack of senior management buy-in. Perhaps you should invite them to our next webinar. And of course, budget constraints, of course. All right, well, I'm going to end the poll here, but thank you for contributing your opinions. We'll share all of that. And to wrap up in the last minute, I just wanted to say thank you again. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to share this half an hour with you this morning. My contact details are right there on the screen. So if you want to reach out, you can reach out directly to me. I will respond to you and get you all sorted out and answer any other last questions you may have. And in terms of what's next, actually by attending this webinar, you are eligible to our free trial offer. So Checkbox actually has a free trial offer at the moment, and we'll actually email you the details to get started with that. It's a really, really cool process where you can get a lot of experience in building on the platform hands-on, and we also provide you some templates and customization guides as well to go with it. We're also going to have another webinar coming up around automating intake and triage. So keep an eye out on our LinkedIn page. Make sure you're following us, and I'll see you at the next one. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.